That's obviously the one thing that all your mates in the pub beforehand, all the vet kids, they all say, well, that's your sex life gone. It's out the window, forget about it, which is interesting because I was really lucky. During pregnancy, some kind of hormone kicked in for Ali. Not only did the breast fairy visit, so she was looking fantastic, but her appetite for sex was increased while she was pregnant. So during pregnancy, our sex life was really healthy and happy. And I was thinking, well, this is fantastic. We'll probably have a couple of weeks off and then be at it again as normal. But it was after the baby was born, it was me that didn't want to have sex, which I think for two reasons. It was a very odd feeling because we had this very stern New Zealand midwife who made me stay at the action end all the way through. I think she didn't really like men, so I was forced to stay down there. Because I wanted to do what my dad said, was try and help out in a way that got you out of the room as often as possible, just mop the occasional brow. But Ali had a really easy... Preferably, yeah, exactly. I was just going to chat to the nurses. Where are you from? Oh, I'm not Munster, yeah. Yeah, all right, love, I'll be with you in a second. But we had a very easy labour right at the end when there was a tear, so Ali had to have stitches. So I had to watch while she was having stitches. So I couldn't get that image out of my mind for quite some time. So and I also, I think subconsciously, because there was a lot of pain, I didn't want to hurt Ali. That's not a boast, obviously, but so it took 6 months before I felt like having it. And it was handy because Ali wasn't particularly desperate for it, obviously, but it was her that raised the subject. I mean, normally, I imagine it's men that normally sort of, after a couple of months, sort of tap their watch and say, romantically say, isn't it about time? But eventually it was Ali who said, are we ever going to have sex again? Because I hadn't been finding excuses. We talked about it, but it's just like, other stuff is fine, but and it was very
I went through a similar experience. I didn't go off, but again, with Shirley, she also had to have a stitch. She was very conscious of the fact that, no matter what was going to happen, she was going to be in some sort of pain, which is an instant mental turn-off to know that, hold on a second, I'm supposed to be pleasuring and really... And I think that's kind of the mental thing. So it's like, are you sure? Everything okay? Take your time. And then she's like, yeah, come on. I'm like, oh, I didn't go off. I really wanted to, but just I knew that issue might come up. So I think that was quite difficult to deal with, so I can appreciate what you went through.
Obviously, being a bloke, I feel I should say for the record that everything's fine now. But it's odd, because I've got a very good circle of mates that I've grown up with, and when normally we can talk about things quite emotionally, and sometimes it's difficult, but I couldn't tell them that. There's one thing I couldn't say to them. Yeah. And eventually I had a discussion about 3 years later, a long time afterwards, and all of them said that to some sort of degree they felt afterwards when they started having sex again, that their first reaction was, my baby came out of there. And there was a kind of, suddenly the relationship with your wife's body has completely changed because you start to view her as a mother rather than as a wife or a sexual partner. So I was surprised to find that all of them had some kind of, not reluctance, but that their attitude had changed towards sex and the woman's body. I don't
think people realise what a big issue it is, because there's an issue before she gives birth and there's an issue after she gives birth. The issue before being obviously her body's changing, she doesn't feel she's so beautiful, and as a first-time father, it's like, oh my goodness, things are changing here, and my goodness, you have to start thinking about different positions, or not, as the case may be. And then afterwards, I think there's the whole issue that she's also tired, and it's not priority anymore. There's a baby to look after, and I've got to be up in a few hours to do a breastfeed or whatever the case may be. So that changes. So
I think that's the big thing that changed with me and Karen. And I was not straight to the business end. Luckily, we had a nicer midwife. I was to the side, so I didn't see any of the stitching or anything. But that obviously plays on your mind. And I think it was an interesting point what you said about the baby come out the same place, and the relationship between the two it's really confusing. But also the tiredness as well. And like you said, the breastfeeding at night, it just seems like a bit of a no-no. And you almost don't want to broach the subject. You don't want to say anything. Exactly. And with us, though, luckily 3 months, 2 months, it just naturally happened. And
I think it's a pressure thing, though, isn't it, as well? Because we had, again, a similar kind of midwife, I think, by the sounds of it, the same nationality as well. But because every time she used to come round, and it used to sort of build up 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we had 3 cesareans. Teresa had 3 cesareans. Right. And as a result of that, there was, you talk about the stitching and everything, but there was this sort of real pain area and all issue. And it got to Teresa would say to me, she wants to know if we've had sex by the time she comes back next month. And my God, it's like ticking the days. And I don't know, but it put me under pressure. And I'm a bad performer, I have to say.
I wonder if there's also an issue because it sounds like most of us actually had the child in the room as well. And I don't know if that was an issue. Those sort of snatch moments of like, hold on a second, it's going to happen every moment. Johnny, they're quick bits.
Well, I'm not happy if the cat's in the room. So but I mean, clearly, there are some couples clearly who start to have sex virtually straight away. I mean, I know I've got aunties who you work out by the age range of my cousins that it was only probably 4 weeks between giving birth and conceiving. But it's interesting you talk about body image beforehand, because Ali hated being pregnant, but the one thing she liked about it, she went through the whole "I am woman, they hear me roar" thing, because she thought she was very beautiful. As a pregnant woman, she thought she was very beautiful, so she had no problem. She still felt very attractive during pregnancy, but afterwards, immediately afterwards, that's when she really felt that she'd stopped being an attractive woman, that she felt that whole thing, I'm just a mother now.
Yeah,
I'm just
waiting for their body to get back into shape.
Yeah,
How many times have you said that? Don't worry, sweetheart, your body will eventually get back into shape.
Yeah, or you do the full Shirley Valentine thing, say, no, the stretch marks are lovely, they're part of you, sort of thing. But it was far more of a problem for her than it was for me. But she just felt, no, I'm not a woman anymore, I'm a provider of babies, sort of thing. And of course, with the Tyler, she didn't feel physically attractive at all. So it took me a long time to reassure her that she still was.
It's a self-confidence thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
As much reassuring as you can give.
Absolutely, yeah.
If they're not happy, you can keep giving reassurance, but it's until they, sort it out and realise that.
Exactly that. It's only when they want to, whether or not it's part of an excuse or not. There's times when you think it's a bit of an excuse.
Yeah.
You think, okay, well, hold on a second, it has been.
Yeah.
We never used to go 3 or 4 days. It's something to beat about.
Well, also I found as well, it became, you had to plan it as well. When we eventually did start having sex again, first of all, the sex was very tentative initially, but I think, again, that was my reluctance to it. But also, like you say, when you're first married, it's spontaneous. Every room in the house, just drop of a hat, almost. So Ali drops a hat. But afterwards, you think, oh God, you do have to plan it. For you'll probably be asleep between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. Oh, but you're working. Oh, I'll cancel the gig. Don't worry.
Suddenly, that spontaneity goes.
Completely.
That's when holidays almost of a sudden became paramount for us, because all of a sudden we went away for a 2-week holiday. That was absolutely perfect because the kids would be out doing something, and all of a sudden there was some degree of spontaneity, because at least you were together 24/7 kind of thing, which you hadn't been when you're back at work straight away.
Funny enough, it's become an issue. You talk about making love with the babies in the bed. It's suddenly become an issue for my son now. It was about a year ago he started to ask whether we had sex while he was in the room with us, because he's clearly disgusted by the thought. As they start doing sex education at school, he started to realise how it works. And he doesn't like seeing us kiss and cuddle now, because he's just like, ugh, it's horrible. But the idea, he's really genuinely shocked and perturbed by the idea that we may have had sex. So we're having to lie to him and say, no, of course we do. Of course, so we carried you gently to another part of the house. Well, you left me on my own while you had sex.
Which it wasn't his bedroom, was it?
It's amazing what you have to come up with when you've got 2 children. It's like put their favourite channel on. Definitely got to subscribe to Sky now. That's it. They've got all kinds of things.
Vincent van Gogh CD is quite useful. It's about 40 minutes. Not that I'm boasting. If you put it on repeat, it's quite useful.
Quite good. That's that. So it's amazing what you have to come up with. I suppose you become quite imaginative, in terms of what you can do, when you can do it, how you can do it, and what moments. And you suddenly got this one big air that, just in case they're coming up, just, oh my God.
It's exciting, though. It's like it's back in the day.
That's it. Suddenly it becomes a lot more spontaneous during what period during the day as well, I suppose. So.
You used to listen for parents, now you listen for kids.
Yeah.